Good morning. My name is Victoria and I'm a life coach. So, today I said we were going to talk about identity today, and I'm not going to go into the id and the ego and the superego and all of that complicated stuff. I'm literally going to talk about the simplistic formation of our identity. And I think that this is critical now simply because of all the detachment that's happening in our experience. Being in lockdown is quite a challenge, and we are prohibited from doing things that we generally like to do or we generally do because that's the rules. So let's just talk a little bit about what identity is. And when I do customer relationship training or I do sales training, one of the first things that I ask my class is, tell me who you are. And often what would come back is, I'm a teacher, or I am a mother, or I am an account executive. And so the identification of self is often referred to in terms of one's role, both in one's career, in one's home. And so therein lies some of our identity. And I want to extend that a little bit and say and show you how we identify with our material possessions and how we identify with things around us, and how that can cause distress and pain when that is lost. So, in coaching, one of the things that we learn is that, or let's rather say in neurolinguistics, one of the things we learn is how people use language to express an event. And so let's just take a car accident, for example. We drive along the road and we are in an accident. And what usually we say to people is, this person bumped into me. And so in that language, very simplistic, this is such a simple example, but in that language, one can recognize that the person who's telling the story identifies with their vehicle. Okay? Why? Because no one bumped into them personally as a human being. The car was bumped. All right? But because the car is considered as part of their identity, it's me. It is me. So when we talk to a client and discuss their identity, we interpret the language that they use to understand just how far extended they have projected their identity. So in talking about my house and my children and my husband or my wife, my job, all of those things, once we've claimed possession of them, forms part of our identity. Now, in order for you to know, some people are conscious of this, some people are self-aware, and some people are not. So just a simple trick for you to be aware of how you are identifying yourself is to just observe where you put your energy and where you put your focus. All right, so where are you expending your resources? Now, resources, whether it be money or whether it be your time or whether it be your thoughts, your thinking, what you talk about, who you're talking to, and your physical energy as well. All of those things will give you an indication of your constructed identity. The sad thing is that few people consciously choose their identities, their personal and own identities. Many of us adopt the identities of our parents, our peers, our teachers, the influences throughout our schooling years, and our communities and cultures. Some of us come from very dominant cultures, whether it be religious or whether it just be a community culture. And those cultures can have a huge impact on our identity as individuals. The problem with that is it's not always authentic. It's an adoption. And so, although authentically you might also subscribe to the same principles and values as those communities and peers, etc., most of the time we don't, and it leads to dissatisfaction, it leads to uncertainty, and it leads to an unfulfilling life. Now, in order for us to be aligned with our authentic self, we have to really know what our values are. What are the values that we genuinely subscribe to? And that can be a tough process for any human being, because when we have recognized that the value system in our culture or our religion or our families are not the values that we personally subscribe to, it almost feels like we're betraying the very people that we care about or the very people that we wish to belong to. And rejection and rejecting your community and rejecting your environment is a big thing, right? And I'm not going to get too hectically involved in rejection, but I think I did mention it in one of my videos, how rejection is a massive part of something we don't want to experience. And our ego works very hard at not being rejected. And there's a reason for that. Okay, there's an instinctive reason for that, but we won't touch on that right now. But when we have a lack of coherent identity, there's genuine uncertainty about life. There's genuine uncertainty about what we want, and there's genuine uncertainty or dissatisfaction and genuinely unfulfilled experiences. Now, that's the basics that I wanted to give you. How this could be impacting you in lockdown and how it's impacted me is my identity with my career is quite strong. Throughout my entire life, it's been a very strong influence of who I am. So when I'm not able to work, I can become quite anxious or quite, I wouldn't say scared, I think scared is too harsh a word, but I get quite anxious and I get quite irritable because my work, especially life coaching and NLP, is very much a part of my purpose. Now, I haven't been in NLP and life coaching all my life. I have come into this only later in my life. I've always wanted to be a psychologist, even as a child. And for some reason, I got diverted and got into business and into management and into marketing and media and public relations. And although I had a very fulfilling career, on some level, it wasn't fulfilling me as a human being. And I recognized that. I knew that, but I did not know what to do about it. Coming back to lockdown, there are many people who are not at work now. There are many who might be losing their jobs. What does that mean? Much of our material possessions may be lost. And so identification with all of these things and the potential loss of them, or the loss of them, causes pain and grief. Because if you understand that those things are part of who you are, or you believe that those things are part of who you are, then it's an experiential ego death that is taking place. And hence the feeling of loss of control, loss of self, loss of self-worth, and the grief and the depression that sets in. And when you start to understand and connect the relationship that you have toward those things, you can realize and start to piece together why there's so much depression and anxiety and heartache and fear attached to an experience like this. What generally happens when these losses take place, or even if we're struggling with our identity and we're realizing our life is unfulfilled, we gravitate to escapism through alcohol addiction, food, constant TV watching, sleeping, becoming a workaholic or exercise holic, whatever it is, whatever you overindulging in becomes your escape mechanism. And it is an unhealthy thing, because what are you actually escaping from? You're escaping from depression, and you're escaping from a sense of meaninglessness. You're escaping from a feeling of lack of purpose. Now, for those who've not been coached and taught NLP, the answer to that is to get busy doing something. Find a job, get working, and yes, those things can be a temporary measure to ease some of the emotional pain that you're experiencing. But in life coaching, what we do is we help you find your authentic self, detached from all of those things. You don't need those things to be able to know who you are. You don't need those things to actually have an identity. You have an identity beyond the material. You have an identity beyond your family. You have an identity beyond your career. You have an identity beyond your physical appearance, your clothes, your body shape. And so I'm not saying that having a career, looking after your body is a bad thing, but it's why you're doing it that causes the pain, and your intent. And what we do in life coaching is we take you into a space where we help you detach from all that you've attached to give you self-worth and to create meaning in your life, so that you can find meaning in yourself, of yourself, because of yourself, your innate self. So that when you go out and pursue your career, pursue a good, healthy body, look after your appearance, buy your next car, decide where you're going to live, any of those external factors that form part of your life, they are being chosen because of your internal authenticity, not because you need them. And that's the difference between a healthy identity and an unhealthy identity. When we need these external things to validate ourselves, we create a dependence and a codependence on them. We create a need for them that is unhealthy, and when we lose them, can destabilize us tremendously. So, and hence many people who are in states of addiction, in states of being a shopaholic, needing to go to the shops, needing to spend money, gambling, even those who feel that they have to be in a relationship in order to have some kind of value in their life. Whatever your loss is that's causing you pain, you have to take a look at it and say, well, what is my attachment to this thing? What is my attachment to having this in my life? Why do I need it? What is it giving me? And what is it that I need to give to myself in order for me to be able to detach from this and not need it in an unhealthy way? So that's my video for today. I hope that it's given you some insight. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about identification with emotions. That's another interesting one. And I think what I'll do in the video on day 4, let me get my days right, with my video on day 4, is I'll just elaborate a little bit more on my video on day 2 about the part of the brain that doesn't know that it's whether it's receiving or giving, because I realized that I could have left a little bit of a cliffhanger with that one, and some may not quite have been able to identify with what I was sharing in that video. So we'll do that. But know that we're here for you. We are offering life coaching 30 minutes free, and it is a wonderful experience to go through, and we'd love to help you find your purpose and give you meaning in life and help you to experience life in a much more fulfilled way. Love and light to you. Carry on giving, carry on breathing, straighten your back, breathe in, breathe out, and I hope you continue to enjoy our videos. Ciao.